بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين. We recited in first four rak'at Surat Al-Moominoon and the beginning of Surat Al-Noor. From the name of the surah, it is obvious that it talks about the Iman and the Mu'mineen, the believers, right? The belief and the believers. And from the beginning of the surah, Allah talks about the qualities of these believers and what their actions are. That they maintain khushu' and their salah, concentration and humility and humbleness and fear and regard to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they distance themselves from lahu. And lahu is anything that is not beneficial. Anything that is not beneficial is lahu. It doesn't have to be harmful. But lahu means anything, gossip and anything that is not of value. Whether value in dunya or akhirah. It could be something in value in dunya, that's good. Okay, something like work or something that helps you live a nice life, that's not considered as lahu. But lahu is something that will not benefit you in dunya or akhirah. And they distance themselves from this, whether that is in actions or in sayings or even in concerns and what keeps them occupied. You know, some people can get concerned with very minute things in this dunya, and these things are actually very luxury stuff, or could be even haram, but so occupied by that. That is lahu. So lahu includes what is not beneficial, and of course that definitely includes what is harmful. And also so they have the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when someone has the connection with Allah, he sincerely is kind to human beings. Anyone else who does not have the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not sincerely kind to human beings. Even if he pretends to be kind to human beings, he is not kind. And his actions will contradict him. And you will see that. He might be kind to an animal but not to a human being, for instance. Or he might be kind to a human being of his own race and his own color and his own culture, but when it's someone from completely different culture that does not agree with him, he's not kind to him. But as somebody who has a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kind not only to humanity but even to the animals. He would be kind to them, and he would feel haram to be evil to an animal even. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, دخلت امرأة النار في هرة. A woman went to hellfire because of a cat. She was evil and unjust to a cat. She tied her up, didn't feed her, and didn't allow her to go and seek her own food. And Prophet ﷺ says, وَفِي كُلِّ ذَاتِ كَبِدٍ رَاكِبَةٍ أَجْرٍ. In everything that is living, you have thawab and reward. Even ants. When one prophet one time was bit by an ant, and he got so angry that he went to the whole colony of the ants and he destroyed it. And Allah blamed him and criticized him. He says to him, أَفِي أَنْ قَرَصَتْكَ نَمْلَةً أَهْلَكْتَ أُمَّةً مِنَ الْأُمَّمِ تُسَبِّحْ. It's because one ant bit you, you have destroyed the whole nation that was making tasbih for Allah. Subhanallah. And then after talking about the description of the believers, you find the description of what they do in their outward picture. But also in the middle of the surah you find a description of the believers on how they feel internally. Before I talk about that, look at the discrepancy between those people who don't have the belief and those people who have the belief, how they feel. Allah talks about the people who don't have the belief in Allah. He says, فَذَرْهُمْ فِي غَمْرَتِهِمْ حَتَّى حِينٍ أَيَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّ مَا نُمِدُّهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ مَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَسَارِعُ لَهُمْ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ بَلْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Also after that he says, بَلْ قُلُوبُهُمْ فِي غَمْرَةٍ مِنْ هَذَا وَلَهُمْ أَعْمَالٌ مِنْ دُونِ ذَلِكَ هُمْ لَهَا عَامِلُونَ. That those people are occupied with anything else but Allah. Anything, whether that thing is from dunya or something that is actually evil and sinful. They are so occupied with that that it has covered them, it has occupied them and surrounded them from every direction. في غمرتهم. You know غمرتهم? Meaning being immersed. Al-ghamra means if you take something and put it in the depth of the water, you are said to that you have غمرتها. Meaning that you have put it and immersed it. And they are immersed in everything else but Allah and His words. So it says فَذَرْهُمْ فِي غَمْرَتِهِمْ حَتَّى حِينٍ. So they're not really aware of anything that relates to Allah and the responsibility towards Him or what He is commanding them to do. They're not aware. And they're not aware of what Allah has prepared for people who do this or people who do that. They're not aware of anything of that. فِي غَمْرَتِهِمْ حَتَّى حِينٍ. So immersed. If someone is underwater and you are calling and shouting on him with a microphone, will he listen to you? Will he hear you? He will not hear you. This is فَذَرْهُمْ فِي غَمْرَتِهِمْ حَتَّى حِينٍ. And at the end it says بَلْ قُلُوبُهُمْ فِي غَمْرَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا وَلَهُمْ أَعْمَالٌ مِّن دُونِ ذَلِكَ لَهُمْ لَهَا عَامِلُونَ. So occupied by other actions of life and other ways in life. This is a description. And look at this. Because Allah has given them dunya and because they are attaining dunya, they feel that the akhirah for them is good too. أَيَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّمَا نُمِدُّهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ مَالٍ وَبَنِينَ نُسَارِعُ لَهُمْ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ بَلْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They think because they are working hard for the dunya and they are attaining everything in dunya and they are getting it and they are enjoying dunya more than the believers, they think that is an indicator that Allah is pleased with them and that they will continue to be in blessings this life and whatever happens after that. وَلَئِنْ رُجَعْتُ لِرَبِّي. In case I go back to my Lord, إِنَّ لِي عِنْدَهُ لَلْحُسْنَى. Just in case, maybe there is something called hereafter, and just in case that happens, I'm also going to be in a good status, because I'm in a good status here. This is how they think. So, dunya, and they feel safe and comfortable. But look at the believers. Allah says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. The exact opposite of this. They are so afraid of the Lord. الَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. They are very afraid of the Lord. And it says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ. And they believe in His words. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ لَا يُشْرِكُونَ. And they never associate anything with their Lord in their actions. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ أَنَّهُمْ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ رَاجِعُونَ. The meaning of this ayah, he said, they do what they do, and their hearts are full of fear that they will be facing their Lord. Aisha asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, oh, those are the people, إنه الرجل يسرق ويزني ويشرب الخمر ثم هو يخاف الله. Is it a man who steals and commits adultery and drinks alcohol and he's still afraid of Allah? How can this happen? This is how she understood the ayah. يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ. They do what they do while they're afraid of Allah. So she linked between the fear from Allah and they probably have done something wrong. This is how she understood it. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ immediately corrected him. He said, لا يا ابنة الصديق. He said, no, daughter of Siddiq. Meaning he's surprised how she understood it that way. He said, بل هو الرجل يصلي ويتصدق ويفعل الخير ثم يخاف ألا يقبل منه. He said, no, it is the man who does the exact opposite. He is praying and he is doing the goodness and he is giving the zakah and he's still afraid that Allah will not accept. So look at the description. These people went after the akhirah and they have done everything to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they still feel that they have not done anything. And that everything they've done is out of the favor of Allah on them, that He guided them and supported them and allowed them to do it, right? And they feel whatever they have done does not match the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya or His blessings on them in their religion. And that is why they are afraid to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they've done so little and they've taken so much from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has given them so much. So they do akhirah and they fear Allah. They fear Allah. But those guys, the first people, they have nothing to do with the pleasure of Allah or the deeds of akhirah, but they still are very comforted that and I'll just mention one more ayah because it's very important, this meaning in this ayah. Allah talks about those people that fight and they become enemies to the believers. And hereafter Allah talks about how they are punished and they ask Allah to come out and from hellfire, and he says to them, اخسأوا فيها لا تكلمون, don't talk to me anymore. Don't try even ask to come out. Allah tells them not to talk anymore. And it is mentioned that after He tells them that, they're not even able to speak anymore. That was the last thing that is heard from the people of hellfire. But look at this. Allah says to them, and He's criticizing them, and the criticism here makes them feel even more bad about themselves. They're getting punished in hellfire, getting burnt, but still the internal torment is even more. He says, إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِي يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا وَارْحَمْنَا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. He says, remember those people used to call names such as, for instance, they are terrorists, they are extremists, they are so and so. He says, they used to worship me, and they used to ask my forgiveness and my mercy. He says, فَاتَّخَذْتُمُوهُمْ سِخْرِيًّا حَتَّى أَنْسَوْكُمْ ذِكْرِي. He kept on calling them names, He kept on giving labels to them, He kept on prosecuting them. He says, look at this, حَتَّى أَنْسَوْكُمْ ذِكْرِي. Which means that until they made you forget my remembrance. How is that? They made the believers their main issue. Whenever a believer is following Allah's way, he is like their enemy. And they're so concentrated on taking him as their enemy and putting him down and prosecuting him that they don't pay attention to what is the message that has made him like this, or what is the message that this man is following, or what is this way of life that it has changed him and made him follow this way. They don't pay attention to Allah's word. All they know is that this guy is a terrorist, this guy is so and so. But they don't even talk about the religion. You see this all the time in the media. Oh, extremists, terrorists, so and so. But do they ever talk about what this message is about? Who sent this message? Is this message true or not true? What kind of perfection is in this message? What kind of miracles are in this message? They don't even mention that. They're just so concentrated into considering these people as their enemies. فَاتَّخَذْتُمُوهُمْ سِخْرِيًّا حَتَّى أَنْسَوْكُمْ ذِكْرِي. And they have put aside the whole issue, the main topic of this whole conflict that is going on, Allah's way and the shaitan's way. They have forgotten about this whole case because they have concentrated their efforts as taking these people as their enemies. And this is ijaz, and this is not you. This is the miracle of the Quran to describe this kind of situation that we are witnessing these days. And nobody could even come up and imagine something like this kind of situation, to bring up some kind of situation like this on these people concentrating on the animosity of the believers to the extent that they forget the message behind it. And this is what we're witnessing these days. So this is one of the miracles of this book.